Imagine standing on a historical seesaw where on one side you've got Taiwan, a democratic, vibrant, and self-governed island, and on the other, China, a global superpower with military muscle to flex. Lately, China's posturing near Taiwan's aerial and sea boundaries has been anything but subtle. "We'll smash Taiwan independence," says China's President Xi Jinping, making it clear they mean business. Taiwan isn't sitting idle, though. They've ramped up their defense game, shelling out around $19 billion on U.S. military equipment and even extending military service for men by a year. Now you might ask, why is China so keen on Taiwan? This isn't just a random power grab. It's part of China's broader goal to expand its resources, territories, and strategic reach. But to truly understand this high-stakes rivalry, we've got to time travel a bit. First things first, Taiwan is officially known as the Republic of China, or ROC. Keep that in mind. It's key to understanding the long-standing beef between these two nations. So, here's the quick history lesson. Taiwan was first a pit stop for Spanish adventurers in the 1600s. Then the Dutch kicked them out. In 1662, Zheng Chunggong and his crew ousted the Dutch. The Qing dynasty in mainland China made several attempts to take Taiwan and finally succeeded in declaring it a province in 1885. Fast forward to the late 1800s, China lost Taiwan to Japan after getting defeated in the Sino-Japanese War. Taiwan was under Japanese rule until World War II ended in 1945. Meanwhile, back in China, a revolution in 1912 overthrew the Qing dynasty, leading to the founding of the ROC. When Japan lost World War II, Taiwan was handed back to China, but this time under the control of the Nationalist Party, or Kuomintang, which is the Republic of China's main political faction. The plot thickens with the Chinese Civil War between the Communist Party and the Kuomintang. The war ended with the Kuomintang retreating to Taiwan in 1949. The Communist Party claimed mainland China, branding it the People's Republic of China, while the Kuomintang continued to consider itself, and Taiwan, the real China. At least 1.2 million people relocated with KMT from China to Taiwan. For a while, the world mostly recognized Taiwan as the legitimate China. But in the 70s, the tide turned. The UN and then the US officially recognized the People's Republic as the real China, but kept a backdoor relationship with Taiwan. Fast forward to today. Taiwan has evolved into a democratic nation with its own government and military, while China has emerged as a one-party socialist republic. Each claims to be the true China, but guess who's got the bigger stick? China's superior military and economic clout have overshadowed Taiwan's claim. It's a David and Goliath story, but both sides have deep historical roots to the name China. Who would be the David or the Goliath if the tables were turned? We can only speculate. But as it stands, China's increasing military aggression makes it clear that they're willing to tip the historical seesaw in their favor, no matter the cost. Given these facts, is it correct that China wants Taiwan just because of their historical ties? Not quite. The reasons could range from profound to sinister. In the corridors of power in Beijing, China's leadership paints a grand vision of the nation's future, a vision deeply rooted in its global ambitions and regional hegemony. Only a few short years ago, the idea that China could serve as a counterbalance to American influence was met with skepticism in Western circles. Many thought China would be content to play second fiddle in a world still dominated by the principles of liberal democracy. The Chinese government has given us a blueprint, publishing an authoritative white paper titled The Taiwan Question and China's Reunification in the New Era. Within these pages, Beijing lays out its conviction that reuniting with Taiwan is the linchpin to thwart efforts by external forces to contain China's ascent. This move, they argue, is crucial to safeguard the sovereignty, security, and development interests of our country. Not merely a geopolitical strategy, the white paper also fuels China's campaign to stoke the fires of nationalism among its citizens. So, what's China's roadmap to ascend to global superpower status? Analysts generally point to two possible paths, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. The first route is, perhaps unsurprisingly, one that looks a lot like the historical journey of the United States. Achieve regional dominance first, then use that as a springboard to project power across the globe. This approach is focused heavily on China's home turf, specifically the waters of the Western Pacific. However, there's a second, more audacious strategy in play, one that defies the conventional wisdom of geopolitics. Rather than investing solely in regional superiority, China aims to outmaneuver the United States on the global stage directly. This involves more than just military muscle. It means leveraging economic influence, diplomatic outreach, and political maneuvering worldwide. The consensus among strategic thinkers is that China must first conquer its backyard, so to speak, to achieve its global aspirations. And by conquer, we don't mean old-school invasion and occupation, a la the Soviet Union's Cold War tactics. The only exception to this rule is Taiwan, as China has been displaying intents to occupy the country, similar to what it did in Hong Kong. What Beijing seeks is a dominating influence over the Western Pacific, extending from Japan to Taiwan and on to the Philippines. In this domain, China intends to have the final say, exercising an effective veto over the security and economic policies of its neighbors. The goal? To unravel the American web of alliances and push U.S. military assets as far away from its shores as possible. However, Beijing faces a crucial obstacle. If it can't secure this regional stronghold, its global ambitions may remain just that, ambitions. China would then find itself mired in constant maritime skirmishes, forever looking over its shoulder. So long as the U.S. maintains a fortified military presence in key strategic locations, think Taiwan, Japan, and Vietnam, regional players will think twice before bowing to Beijing's ascendancy. Since it can't occupy Japan or Vietnam, then its last resort is Taiwan and the man-made islands it established across the South China Sea. But what exactly are the geographical advantages of Taiwan that made it appealing to China and even other countries like the U.S.? Taiwan is more than just an island. It's a linchpin in a geopolitical chess game that stretches from Japan to the Philippines. American military thinkers have zeroed in on this chain of islands as the first line of defense against China's growing military might. But they're not the only ones with eyes on the map. Beijing has long understood Taiwan's importance in their own strategic ambitions. This first island chain serves as a wall, blocking China's navy from easy access to the open Pacific. For military strategists, it's a real-world roadblock in a sea full of what might otherwise be mere theoretical obstacles. China's navy, which now boasts more ships than the United States, has been pretty clear about its intent. It aims to be the big player in the Pacific, and it doesn't plan on being penned in by anyone. Meanwhile, Washington has been equally explicit that keeping China in check is its top defense priority. The U.S. military is even preparing to use these very islands as leverage to push back against China's expansionist agenda. Now, let's get into why Taiwan is the star player on this maritime board game. First off, it's huge, especially when compared to its neighbors. Okinawa, the next largest island in the chain, is just 7 miles wide and could be easily taken out by China in a conflict. Taiwan, 30 times larger, offers room for military maneuvers and a hiding spot for assets. But Taiwan isn't just a piece of land, it's an economic powerhouse. Leading tech companies like Taiwan Semiconductor are global trendsetters. Add to that the island's proximity to mainland China. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And you understand why Beijing has been claiming it since 1949. But here's the kicker. If China were to gain control over Taiwan, it would be a game changer. Suddenly, that maritime roadblock wouldn't be so effective. China would have a clear path into the broader Pacific, putting a dent in U.S. efforts to hold the line. For other countries in the region, it would signal the end of American military dominance. And once that perception shifts, there's no turning back. Perhaps the most sinister of all reasons is Taiwan's economy. Essentially, if China wants to become the reigning superpower, it requires abundance of resources that are supported by different economic fronts. That's where Taiwan comes in. An island less than 14,000 square miles in size, yet punching way above its weight on the global economic stage. According to the International Monetary Fund, Taiwan currently has a GDP of $790 billion. Sure, that's small potatoes compared to China's whopping $17.5 trillion, but don't let the numbers fool you. Taiwan is an economic dynamo that China wouldn't mind having in its corner. Why? Taiwan is a hub of innovation and a master of quick adaptation. This island has a tight-knit community of industries that work hand in hand, making it nimble and ready to react to what the market wants. In simpler terms, they've got their act together when it comes to making stuff, and they make it well. Consider the gadgets you use every day. Laptops? Check. Network devices? Yep. Taiwan holds a staggering 80% of the global market share in laptops and motherboards. 6 out of 10 network devices globally are made in Taiwan. It doesn't stop at tech, though. Ever heard of Giant or Merida bikes? Those are Taiwanese brands, and they're peddling their way across the globe. If you're into fitness or just love comfy athletic wear, odds are you're familiar with names like Adidas, Nike, Lululemon, and Under Armour. Guess where a large chunk of their functional textiles come from? That's right, 70% is crafted in Taiwan. But Taiwan's ace in the hole might just be its close relationship with the United States. They're not just allies, they're economic partners who have built strong supply chains over decades. It's a friendship that's beneficial for both, deepening their economic, trade, and cultural bonds. So, it's hardly surprising that China is eyeing Taiwan's treasure trove of economic goodies. The island is not just a strategic chess piece, but a cornucopia of advantages that could benefit any superpower. For Taiwan, the stakes are high, and their economic prowess is a key player in a geopolitical game that everyone's watching closely. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe to Beyond Life. I know doing these stuff is a chore, but with those little clicks, you can help our channel grow and allow us to produce more value-oriented content just like this. That's it for now. Stay safe and see you in the next one.